Hi, I'm Chuck Jolley with CattleNetwork. I'm here with Mike Callicrate, who said one of the more interesting comments, I think, during today's session. He asked the question, are we going to become an industrial agriculture or a family farm agriculture? Mike, can you elaborate on that statement just a little bit?
Yes, I sure can. George Powell wrote a book a few years ago called Raise Less Corn and More Hell. And back in the late 1880s, there was a woman by the name of Mary Ellen Lease, an attorney from the state of Kansas, that sort of led the populist movement back then when there was a lot of concentration in the marketplace, and they fought for competition, just like we are today. And she made this really bold statement, we should raise less corn and more hell. Well, in George's book, in the opening foreword of the book, he describes two visions of agriculture. One from Ann Veneman, the current, at the time, Secretary of Agriculture, in which everything is highly concentrated. We're using chemicals for weed control, chemicals for fertilizer. All of this major industrial applications are being applied to production agriculture. On the other hand, he describes a family farm agriculture where livestock is produced and the manure is applied to the land and communities thrive and producers are sustainable. That was described by myself. And so when this is kind of what woke me up a little bit to the alternatives. We have industrial agriculture which is highly concentrated. Inputs are supplied by a very few firms that control prices on the input side. Producers receive, for the most part, less than what it costs them to produce. They aren't putting back to the land. They aren't providing good stewardship in a lot of ways, from livestock to soils. And consumers have less choice at the retail market, and as well as perhaps less quality at the retail level. And so these are the two visions, and they've been in a battle for a long time. But family farm agriculture has been losing big time, and industrial agriculture has been gaining ground big time. And an example today is we have Monsanto controlling nearly 90% of the corn and soy acres in this country with their seeds, and all the chemicals that go with that form of crop production, the monoculture kind of an approach. And we've lost our diversification across the country with small producers on the land taking care of it. And I am not saying that it's an either-or kind of a structure here that may best serve America. It may be that we have both, but we have to make sure that the marketplace is the decider of whether it's industrial or family farm or something in between. I think the marketplace has to do that through fair, open, and competitive markets. And I think these GIPSA rules, which is the reason we were here today for this hearing, are a beginning to restore some fairness to the market. The original intent of the Packers and Stockyards Act, and get some machinery back in place that can process these animals from the time they're produced to when they go onto that consumer's plate. We've lost a lot of that infrastructure. And you do that through competitive markets and rewarding people who are doing what the consumers really want.
The change in direction toward industrial farming or big ag or whatever you want to call it for the last 25 years has been pretty substantial. Is it reasonable to expect that the GIPSA rules or anything else might slow down or inhibit that kind of growth?
Well, in fact, it goes back 50 years, but really has asserted itself in the last 35 years. In the time that I've been in the cattle business, I have a 12,000 head feedlot at St. Francis, Kansas, and all of a sudden I found I couldn't sell my cattle anymore. I'd been speaking out against the meat packer concentration. I had to close it down. It's reopened now, just producing cattle for my Ranch Foods Direct company in Colorado Springs. But I don't know that it's reasonable that we're going to return back to family farm agriculture like we had 100 years ago. I don't say we should do that. But I do think that we have got to put more people back into rural communities so that they're sustainable. I do think that we have to treat the land better. We have to build our soils again. Chemical agriculture has given us a lot of dead dirt where we can plant seeds and have to feed them to make them grow, as opposed to an operation that may use animal manure. I think the combination between animal production and crop production is critical. If you've got animal production that supplies manure for crop production, That's a sustainable cycle and something that's beneficial to the land that leaves us something better than what we found. And this is gone with industrial agriculture. We concentrate the manure in a big facility that feeds maybe 120,000 cattle, like the one at Yuma, Colorado at JBS, and there's not enough land to properly apply that. And so we lose the benefit. It's like they say, a pile of manure stinks, but properly applied is an absolute gift. It's like in India, they worship the cow, and of course the cow provides them the milk and the cheese and food for their people, but it's the cow dung that they appreciate the most. It's that fertility, that soil-building property of that manure. In fact, Hillary Clinton was in India and talking to Vandana Shiva, a physicist and a food activist from India, and she says, Hillary, our cow dung is worth more than the stocks on Wall Street. And if you think about what soil means to the human race and to food production, she's absolutely right. And so I don't see industrial agriculture going away, but I do want to make sure that there's room for an alternative. Competitive markets would ensure that.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
This is Chuck Jolley with Cattle Network.